I know that there's something else that has been on your mind and on a lot of folks' minds, and that is some comments and some backlash now to Congresswoman Omar after some comments surfaced this week in which, and I want to play it, she said something about the 9/11 attacks. I want to talk about your reaction to the backlash and your reaction to the comment in two pieces. So here's that remark, Congresswoman.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
And it's that phrase, people did something, that is being picked up on by some of the Congresswoman's critics, including, for example, the cover of the New York Post, which I will ask you about in a second. But on these remarks themselves, some people did something as a reference to 9/11. Do you think she should have rethought her words? Do you worry about the appropriateness of that?
They do this all the time to us, especially women of color. They do that. They take our words out of context because they're afraid, because we speak truth. We speak truth to power. My sister Omar, what she was talking about was uplifting people by supporting their civil liberties and civil rights. She has always condemned any strategy, especially of a person that's directly impacted by being a refugee herself. She sees what terrorism can do. She sees what violence can do to a whole country, to a whole people. Taking it out of context, this is just pure racist act by many of those, hateful acts by those, because she does speak truth when it talks about different issues that they don't disagree with. And I'm really outraged because as a person that has gotten direct death threats myself, I know that her life is put in more danger. And I see her not just as my sister Omar as a colleague, but I see her as a mother of three, trying to raise her children. I can't imagine their lives without her. And the fact that these people are irresponsibly taking those words out of context and endangering the life of Rep. Omar is immoral, is wrong, and it needs to be called out by many of my colleagues, not just myself, and saying that they need to stop targeting her this way. It's absolutely putting her life in danger.
It's obviously something you feel very passionate about, and I know that there was the cover of the Post that came out that caught a lot of people's attention, that showed that just very difficult image to look at from 9/11 with the headline, "Here's your something," again, in reference to the words that she used. Your reaction to this?
I mean, it's just wrong. Think about it. They take those words and didn't take it. If you look at the context, people have written about the fact that they took those words and completely transformed it to be something ugly and something hateful, and that's exactly what it was. She was talking about civil liberties and civil rights issues. She is so loving towards our country because she had to earn her citizenship in this country. She had to earn it, and she was a refugee with nothing, and she became an American United States citizen, and she cherishes everything. And I've talked to her about this. It brings tears to my eyes watching my mother, who, in the 80s was able to become a United States citizen. Our immigrant neighbors, that when they are able to earn their way, not just born in this country, but earn their way into citizenship and becoming one of us, it is pure inspiration to see a woman at 8 years old as a refugee come through, and you know what she does? She uplifts the LGBT community, women of color. She uplifts immigrants. She tells her stories in such a way that completely transforms how people see it. And it's been a voice that's been missing so long in the United States Congress. And I just uplift her right now in saying that she needs to continue having that courage, but we also need to join and reunite our country against those kinds of hateful, the New York Post cover and any of the attacks that I've seen over and over again of Sister Omar.
She talked about this a little bit on the Colbert Show last night. She wasn't directly asked about those 9/11 comments, but she was asked just in general about the idea that she is, as she put it, a lightning rod, because she thinks that where our nation is right now, there are many members of the community who do have a lot of different identities: immigrants, refugees, women of color, people of color, minorities, Muslims, and she embodies all of those sort of in one person, as one identity, and feels that that has made her a target of criticism. And I want to ask you how you see that, what your reaction is to that. And to be clear, it sounds like you're saying you don't think she should have rethought her words. You think her words are being taken out of context, and you're comfortable with what she said, and not with the criticism she's receiving.
Yeah, I'm not for policing people. That's what they're doing to us women of color. I mean, think about it. This is a diverse class. They've never had two Muslim women. They've never had a Palestinian American. They've never had a woman that was a refugee. I mean, these are real life, impactful stories that come with us because our lens is so different. you know, this is not just about a Congress that looks differently, but we serve differently and we talk about these issues differently. But it's an institution that just is not ready for people like us, real people. We are just like any other Americans. When I talk about my immigrant mother, when I talk about my grandmother in Palestine, when I talk about living in poverty in the city of Detroit, I mean, all of those things are so important in being at that table. They've talked about us for so long, and it's now one of us is there. People that are directly impacted by the Muslim ban, directly impacted by anti-immigrant rhetoric, directly impacted about on issues around racial injustice, all of those things. It's been missing in this chamber for so long, and now that Sister Ilhan Omar is there, they can label it whatever they want because that's a way to try to discredit her, but her voice matters. And I'll tell you, more and more people believe in what she's doing than people against it. And I wish we would uplift those people, because 70% of her community is white, and they elected her. The majority of people that elected her do not share the same faith as her. And they believed in her and made her a United States Congresswoman. And that is what we need to be talking about more.